All right, hello, welcome back. Happy Sunday. Today we have Bitcoin at $93,300. Bit of a dip, but still we're above the red zone, which is a good thing overall. Above super trend, uptrend is still valid. This is all that really matters, is Bitcoin holding strong on its newly formed uptrend. It doesn't seem too exaggerated, it doesn't seem too steep. It seems perfectly fine, my opinion. Maybe a bit of an adjustment could be made, you could argue, but it's looking healthy nonetheless. Um, what has happened since yesterday till today? Absolutely nothing. So we're still going to talk about some other stuff that did happen and other stuff that will happen as well in the upcoming week. This upcoming week will absolutely be important. So we're going to talk about that. You might notice that everything is in the red, except for one little fella, XRP, and as you can tell by the title, yes, we are getting an XRP ETF. So a bit of a little pump for XRP. It doesn't seem like too major nonetheless. Like this should be massive news and we should be rising like crazy, but no, apparently not. Small readjustment on the uptrend there. Still valid. Resistance is still holding strong, though at 230 is what we have to break for XRP to continue forward. Currently seeing some rejection off that zone, which is a bit concerning. This still could be a good chance to accumulate, my opinion. XRP is not at a bad price at all. 224, usually around 222 is the magic 222 number. Something that I was like keeping in the back of my mind, like that's a good price to buy XRP. Lately, though, we have broken far below that. Low point of 161 was the lowest. Black Monday. Is it Black Monday? It's Black Monday. Pretty sure it's Black Monday. The 1983 thing that everybody was scared of. Yeah, so fears of that is what caused, of course, a major dip like this. Great buying opportunity, by the way. I did not take advantage. I didn't care too much for XRP, and I rather accumulated SUI, which a good move that I did. Right, SUI is 345. By the way, XRP dropped lower than what SUI dropped. I'm always doing these comparisons, and I feel kind of bad, but it's something you got to pay attention to. This, it dropped to a low of 171 SUI. Where did XRP drop? 161. So a whole 10 cents less. These are both worth roughly the same amounts. When they recovered, they're around $2.04 is the number that I remember both of them being at. $2.04, $2.04, around over here, right? After they've recovered. From there, I said SUI would absolutely outperform XRP this current cycle, which it is currently doing, right? We're seeing XRP rise like crazy, broken out of its downtrend, right? And now at a price of $3.45 compared to XRP at a price of $2.24. It has not even passed the $3 mark, has not even passed $2.30. So that's my concerning view of XRP. However, look at what we are getting right now. We're getting an XRP ETF. That is supposed to be good. It's supposed to bring institutional investment interest in here. You know, a lot more ways to buy XRP, right, via an ETF. If you don't have access to crypto exchanges, things like that, you can just do that on a regulated market instead. So that's good overall. It should bring more volume into XRP. However, that's something for the long term, is what I'm saying. Long term, XRP will be better than SUI, is what I'm predicting here, according to my little fundamental analysis that I've done here. All right, let's move back onto Bitcoin. It's down 1.73%. Lowest point that we can reach for it, 92,200, I think is a good support zone. Served once over here. Served as resistance, resistance back over here as well. So that should become our new support level. And you know, worst case scenario would be around here, 90,000. We shouldn't see Bitcoin below 90,000 again, ideally, right? According to my indicators, that's what they indicate. We are also, look at this RSI, and I have another post talking about RSI as well, in 4-hour charts specifically. It's diverging here from, we basically have not moved much in price, right? From here to here, it's just a 2% drop. But like, we were not even considered overbought anymore. when we were at this zone right over here, right? Can I turn this off? Yes. Which is great, right? We're still at the same zone, and we're not considered overbought anymore. We're actually at the 50 RSI, which indicates the fact that if we are going to be overbought again, we now have room to rise, right? This is just pointing towards Bitcoin rising. Of course, we'd be oversold if we break this uptrend and start heading down once again. Super trend would flip bearish, and I'll give it to you. There you go. It's considered oversold. But honestly, there's really no reason for that to happen. We've got a lot of positive outlooks, a lot of positive stuff that has already happened that is probably not even priced in yet. You know, I'm mainly looking at the executive order of the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Like, it's a real thing, right? Why aren't we pumping a lot higher? These are all good news. A lot of good news that we've been seeing, especially for crypto. So I feel like pump is absolutely deserved. Should be coming in soon, and we've seen how fast FOMO can kick in, especially from institutional investors. We saw billions of dollars worth of inflows in this past week, which, you know, that could likely just continue. We're going to get to a point where that's just going to be the new norm. We're just going to see constant hundreds of millions of dollars being inflowed thanks to the institutional investors, the ETFs. That's going to happen for Bitcoin. It's going to happen for Ethereum. We already have an ETF for Ethereum. And it will also happen for XRP, right? SUI is just much more volatile, so I still think it'll outperform XRP nonetheless. SUI is better than Ethereum. SUI is better than Solana. I think SUI is just going to do great. Solana, let's talk about Solana now. It's at 146, kind of slowing down its movement over here. Like I said, I mentioned it before, we're going to probably have to readjust the uptrend that we have right now because of how flat this weekend has been. Not a lot of news to base any movements of, right? Even with XRP getting some good fundamentals over the weekend, still hasn't really moved as much, right? Sure, we got a little pump over here, but we're practically back to where we started almost, right? Who knows? We'll wait until, you know, Asian markets are already open. Seems like they're not doing much. US market will open in about 12 hours. So we'll see what kind of reaction we get from Wall Street. So have a look at Ethereum, 1,774. Highest point we've reached based off of this recovery is 1,856. About less than $100 off from that. So we should overtake that with ease, but the issue is that it is considered a resistance level for us. So a breakout would have to, you know, some fundamentals will be needed for this breakout to happen, pushing us back over to $2,000 of Ethereum, which I think it deserves to be worth over 2,000. Anything under 2,000, my opinion, still a good buy, still early. There's still a chance, my opinion. In terms of dropping, where did do I not even have, I don't even have a, wow, this is embarrassing. Go to a weekly chart here for a sec. I don't have a Fibonacci retracement here, but we've bottomed out, guaranteed. So I'm just gonna draw this. I'm gonna enable my magnet again from here to here. Yeah, so 2,000 is the first resistance that we're gonna have to reach. Currently fighting over the 1,800 zone, right? Once we do break that, 1,800, 2,000 is next. After 2,000, it's looking like 2,400, 2,700, 3,000, 3,500, and then 4,000 all-time high. We did slightly break our all-time high with the initial pump we saw back in December, January, right? We still got a long way to go for Ethereum, but I think it is absolutely possible, right? It's possible. We've done it in the past with worse fundamentals. Ethereum is getting a little better, right? The ETFs are here. Grayscale has done most of its sell-off by now, I'm pretty sure. It's ETF staking is coming likely very soon. I haven't heard much news about it, but it's been talked about previously. So it's not off the table yet, right? And ETF staking for Ethereum will be huge as well. Positive fundamentals here. It is inflationary though, so I don't know. But who knows? Token burning, gas fees, etc. They're improving all that stuff, so it's worth giving it a giving it a look. Next coin I'm going to talk about is Litecoin. It's $84.92. Still not able to break fully past the 87 resistance zone that we've got. From there, though, once we do break out, it's reaching $92 guaranteed. Uptrend is still holding strong. Looks good so far. Worst case, breaking the uptrend would lead us to 81. We can make a small readjustment even at 81 or at 80 as well. Would still be maintained at an uptrend. Breaking 80, though, towards the downside would indicate a trend reversal, though, for Litecoin. $4 off from that versus, you know, from here reaching 92. I think it's more likely we'll be heading towards the upside. I have a positive out view for this current week that we'll be getting. Out view, did I say that? Outlook. Yeah, whatever. Cardano, similar deal, although it's slowed down at an interesting level at 74.5 approximately. I guess that kind of matches what we're seeing over here. 75, 76, 74, 75, 76. Around this zone is where we're seeing some sell pressure, right? It's maintained itself lateralized for a moment here. Important support we're looking at is 67 for Cardano. We are still able to maintain this uptrend even if we drop to as far down as 63. Still looks solid, in my opinion. Has not recovered as fast or as much as the rest, but who knows? You remember this little pump that we got over here? Anything can happen with Cardano, so shouldn't completely discard that. Am I correct in drawing this? I think it is. We'll leave it there for now. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing this resistance properly. I'll draw from our all-time high levels just to check. Because that's the downtrend still prevails, like from our all-time high level. Not all-time high, because Cardano was higher than this back in 2021. Which is a shame to say, by the way, but it's, you know, it's real, it's happened, you know. And keep it in mind, Cardano had worse fundamentals back then than now. So, you know, if you want to look at it that way, yeah, Cardano's still got some room for movements toward the upside. I don't like how this looks, realistically. I'm just removing Fibonacci completely from here. Watch me tomorrow, I'll be like, where is the Fibonacci for Cardano? Where is the resistance levels? Where's the pivot points? That's what I'm looking for. I turned them off. Oh, here we are. Yeah, 74, 75. That's where we got for resistance in Cardano right now. We got new pivot levels. That's good. Looking at 82 for our next one up here. That looks relevant coming up for this week. Pivot point first one is looking at 68 or 67 around this zone. We got a bit of an area where we could consolidate here if we do need a bit of reinforcements to continue rising, right? That's what I would say for Cardano. There's your technical analysis. Bitcoin is dipping a little bit. We just broke 93,000 toward the downside, so we're currently 92,900. It's nothing to panic about. We're still above 90,000. We're chilling. And pivot level is looking at 91,000. So around here is where we could drop if we do continue seeing a drop, but I'm confident that we will be maintaining an uptrend nonetheless. This super trend should not flip bearish for this week. Hopefully not. Cool. Let's move on to the news section. Trump signals plan to eliminate income taxes for millions. Tariffs to power massive job boom and external revenue service. He tweeted this out today on Truth Social, saying that when tariffs cut in, many people's income taxes will be substantially reduced, maybe even completely eliminated. Focus will be on people making less than $200,000 a year. Also, massive numbers of jobs are already being created, with new plants and factories currently being built or planned. It will be a bonanza for America. The external revenue service is happening. This is positive, right? He's giving us a positive outlook that, you know, the tariffs are working, art of the deal, good, and economic data should also be favorable, right? Keeping things in check here. Hopefully Jerome Powell does go through with his rate cuts. It's a high % chance that we will not be getting one for the month of May. That's already accepted and priced into the markets. What matters more is what he will be saying about the future. So that's what we're going to pay attention to. Remember the Trump coin? If you hold Trump coin and you're the top 240 holder, 220 holder, I forget what it was, you're invited to a dinner with Donald Trump, causing that token to rise massively in price, right? Everybody wants a dinner with Trump. Who doesn't? Apparently now, this guy is coping, seething, malding, I don't know what you want to say. Senator John Ossoff says that Donald Trump's meme coin VIP dinner is an impeachable offense. How come? Why? What rules does that violate? I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about law. Maybe it does violate something. Who knows? Did also want to talk about this. Some geopolitical tensions kind of forming in the Indian region. They're, just for context, I'll read the Grok analysis thing first. So, this is Pakistan Defense Minister issuing a statement amid rising tensions after a deadly attack in Indian-administered Kashmir on April 24. So, April 24, there was a terrorist attack where Muslims killed Hindu people, right? I think it was. Gunmen killed 26 tourists, prompting India to close its main border crossing and suspend a historic water treaty with Pakistan. There has obviously been tensions in the past, like historically speaking, with India ex-Pakistan. Anyways, this post reflects Pakistan's defensive stance following India's aggressive response. They, of course, didn't like the fact that, this terrorist attack happened. Following, including a diplomatic expulsions and threats of a harshest response from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with the Indian army reporting unprovoked firing by Pakistan among the line of control on April 27. He says that, the defense minister from Pakistan says, "We do not want to escalate or initiate anything, but if India attempts to invade or attack Pakistan, they will be met with more than a matching response," is what he told. The statement is set against the historical backdrop of nuclear-armed rivalry with both nations developing nuclear weapons, India in 1974, Pakistan 1998, raising the stakes of any conflict, particularly over the disputed Kashmir region, where tensions have persisted since the 1947 partition. So that's the lore. Will this war really happen? I don't know. It's not everywhere for now, and it seems like they don't want to really go to war. Nobody really wants to go to war. But, it's still there. It's worth pointing out, possible wars that we have could be, India-Pakistan, could be Israel-Iran, could be China-Taiwan, and currently we're seeing Russia-Ukraine. Nothing really has come of most of those. Russia-Ukraine is I know there's still some attacking going on. Trump is trying to get them to stop. Trump went to visit the funeral of the Pope at Italy yesterday, and he had a one-on-one conversation with Zelensky. I don't know the specifics of what was talked about. I don't think that was yet public, but yeah, it happened, right? So he's still actively trying to resolve the situation. It's just taking a little longer than expected because Zelensky is being a little oddball. So we'll see what happens. Now, okay, this is the big news, of course. The United States Securities Exchange Commission has officially approved the launch of ProShares Trust XRP ETF, which is scheduled to begin trading on April 30, 2025. Mark that in your calendar. 3 days from now, XRP ETF goes live. It's happening. It's official, right? Is there any more news? I want to see, like, anything else pertaining to this. Let's see. Set to launch April 30 marks a significant step for XRP's integration into traditional finance through its... Oh, it's a futures-based ETF, not a spot ETF holding XRP directly. What? Am I blind? I thought I saw a spot ETF. Okay, it's a futures ETF. Never mind. It aligns with Brazil's earlier launch of the world's first spot XRP ETF. That was real. Oh, it happened on April 26th. That's interesting. On B3 Exchange, Brazil Exchange, highlighting a global trend of increasing regulated crypto investment options, with XRP funds seeing $37 million inflows in the last week per CoinShares. That's interesting. Despite the news, XRP's price on April 27 was $2.19, still down on CoinMarketCap, suggesting market skepticism or profit taking, possibly due to the ETF being futures based and ongoing Ripple legal uncertainties post a $50 million settlement in March 2025. Okay, well, that killed everything. I didn't even realize. I thought it was a spot ETF. Okay, it's a futures ETF. That's why it hasn't risen as much. Spot ETF makes things much better, but still, it's an ETF nonetheless in the United States, one step closer to possibly getting that spot ETF. That's what matters the most. If it's a spot ETF. Okay, well, there you go. Sad news. Bitcoin's price is super healthy. This is just an analysis. Bitcoin reclaimed a key support, the white arrow. It's looking like that's 90,000, I'm assuming. Yeah, above 90,000. 91K, which is where we have one of our pivot levels for Bitcoin. Right over here, 91,200. This is insanely bullish. This makes the last 2 months a giant deviation below the main channel, the white lines. One likely scenario, the price could retest the lower boundary of this channel one last time, so the lower white line right where the white arrow is, and then take off and not look back. I agree with this. I think we will reach 100,000 possibly this week. We're getting the economic data. That's going to help out, right? Give us future projections on rate cuts. If we can just keep reassuring ourselves that yes, rate cuts will be coming for the next meeting, not for this one. Things trying to predict what Jerome Powell is going to say. That's what markets going to be basing their the reaction based off of, right? This is the 4-hour chart, the RSI that I was explaining to you guys. Momentum is coming back, right? So there's a chance that we can continue rising from here without the chance of a reversal. We can go much higher without the chance of a reversal is what this means. Meaning, from here, we're currently dipping, but it's fine. We could go to 100,000 and then be considered overbought, likely, around this area, right? Maybe we slow down at first resistance, 98,000. We have yet to see that. In terms of altcoin season, things like that, when is Ethereum going to start pumping? We need XRP rising, SUI I said XRP, Cardano, and did I say Ethereum? Solana, that's what I'm missing. Altcoins usually spend 3 of 4 years heading down versus Bitcoin. All you got to do to confirm this is look at Bitcoin dominance chart, literally. If you go to btc.d, that's the Bitcoin dominance chart. Bitcoin dominance is practically still at high levels. This is a weekly chart, by the way. Last time we were this high was 2021 February. We saw a drop in Bitcoin dominance pretty instantly, right? That was the beginning of altcoin season in 2021. It's a little bit slower this time, but, you know, the higher we'll rise, the greater the fall. And the fall is good in this specific chart because it means that, well, first of all, Bitcoin will still have to continue rising. It still has a lot of room to rise, right? Another 14% before we reach the 70s, we'll call it the 70% level of Bitcoin dominance. That will be when, you know, initial Bitcoin FOMO starts kicking in, Bitcoin above 100,000 again, making new highs, 110, 120,000. Maybe we reach our highest point at 180,000, I'm estimating, to roughly 220,000, no higher than that. And then we can start seeing our little free fall on Bitcoin dominance after people are taking profits, people are FOMOing in. They see that Bitcoin has already made its huge move and they're like, okay, I'm not going to enter into Bitcoin, of course. What are the altcoins doing here? Oh, altcoins are still relatively low. I'll purchase altcoins instead. That's the mentality of retail traders. The retail traders will do that. And that will spark what is called alt season. Bitcoin dominance drops because not a lot of people are holding Bitcoin anymore. They've already taken their profits all the way up there. Bitcoin starts dropping a little bit and people start buying altcoins, which they see that they don't really understand most of the projects, but they're seeing, oh, this is just rising a massive percentage each time. Bitcoin does not have much room left to rise, but these coins do. Which one is the next gem? What is the best altcoin? People will start questioning that, researching little, and start buying into all these projects, which they're good projects and they deserve their pumps as well. So that's when altcoins spend that 1 year outpacing Bitcoin. We are in that current year, so don't get the call wrong. People who are concerned with Ethereum, why is Ethereum not rising? Why is Ethereum still down? Why are we still below 2,000? Just got to give it some time. Man, China is dumping. Moving on. Whale accumulation. We know El Salvador, for example, always buying 1 Bitcoin per day. IMF, International Monetary Funds, is claiming that El Salvador has stopped buying Bitcoin. That is not true. All you got to do is just look at their portfolio, and they still keep buying 1 Bitcoin every day, no matter the price. It's a smart way to do it, right? Of course, if you can afford it, nobody can afford $90,000 to be spent every day to purchase 1 whole Bitcoin. But even if you just put like a smaller amount, I don't know. There's people that have tried with $30 a day ever since I saw a story. I think it was 2017. Some guy was buying like $30 worth of Bitcoin every single day. And today is already a millionaire, right? Which is cool. I'm glad to see people like get rich like that. DCA is a great thing to do, especially if you don't know too much. It's one way to do it is like, oh, I'm sacrificing a meal every day, right? It's not necessarily that, of course. People can still afford to the cost of living during that time and things like that. So stacking sats is what they say is the best option to do. OTC, over-the-counter accumulation also happening. One whale buying 30,000 Ethereum, $54 million, and 600 Bitcoins worth $56 million through OTC today over the counter. What this means is that it doesn't reflect directly on the price. They go through a different institution or provider, we'll call it, to purchase more Bitcoin that way, or Ethereum, right? They sell it to them at a specific price. They'll buy it. They do a trade that they're just sending Bitcoin to one address. That guy receives USDT or whatever. And this doesn't directly impact the market. It's what the whales usually do. And then they transferred out, they got USDC in this case. So 54.9 million USDC and 56.94 million USDC to the Wintermute OTC wallet. There it is. And they received 30,000 Ethereum and 600 Bitcoin from Wintermute, one of the OTC providers. This is some SUI news that I think I alluded to earlier this week, but I didn't really specify what it was about. Pokemon is likely to be the one that is partnering with SUI to launch its own cryptocurrency on the SUI blockchain with NFTs integrated. It makes sense. Pokemon is a trading card game, right? You all know how it works. You collect as much as you want. And, I mean, collectibles, that just rings NFTs. Maybe this could spark NFTs coming back. And it's also useful because, you know, you can use your Pokemon to battle other Pokemon, right? It used to be big in Pokemon, like when I was a child. Not anymore, though. I haven't been... It's been over a decade. I really don't know much anymore about Pokemon. But it's cool to see something like this get integrated into the world of blockchain. Just gives it more use case scenarios. Sui is big into the gaming thing, and they mentioned something about trading card game will be integrated or partnering with Sui. They didn't specify what it was. They didn't specify Pokemon, but come on, what's the most popular trading card game in the world? Apart from maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Or I don't even know. I don't play too much trading card games. Hockey trading cards or basketball cards. I don't know what people collect these days. But Pokemon was definitely the biggest one, I would say. So, yep. Oh, look at this. Pokemon Home had in their updated privacy policy the mentioning of Parasol Technologies, the same company that owns Sui. On the same day, Sui Foundation published a blog post announcing that Parasol would be launching a new line of trading card games built on Sui. Okay, so it's a rumor is what they're saying, but this kind of confirms that rumor without confirming it, right? They're both saying the same things. So it's likely to happen. It's going to be interesting to see. And that explains part of the reason why Sui was rising throughout most of last week, right? This partnership also catalyzed that growth. We broke out the downtrend, which makes me really happy. I'm eyeing the pivot level as support at 3.14. That's the pi number. Twitter will be removing the dollars ticker integration. If you don't know what that is, it's Whenever people like type in a post, like if you want to look up Sui, you put dollars Sui, and it'll show everything that's related to Sui. Apparently, they're removing the dollars thing where it doesn't appear blue like this, so you could just click on that coin and it'll take you to everything about that coin, right? It doesn't just work with Sui, it works with things, every other coin like Solana, right? If I want to look at what Solana is doing, you could click on that and Twitter will give you a little rundown of the price and the most recent relevant posts. Looks like we're heading to 170 plus for Solana. I'll be the judge of that. 170. Yeah, it's within my target range. I agree with that post. Moving on. Huawei. This will be interesting. Their new AI chip aims to rival Nvidia weeks after the US curbs on Nvidia's H20 chip sales to China. Okay, so we know there's a China-US tariff thing going on. We know that China versus US are battling in the military sector, like who can raise the best military. We know also in the AI sector, right? China develops DeepSeek to compete against what we have at ChatGPT, Meta, Gemini, stuff like that. And now it's with the semiconductor stuff. We have our semiconductor dealer in Taiwan, Taiwan Semiconductors, and that's why we defend Taiwan as Americans. I'm saying we, but I'm not. You get the point. US defends Taiwan from China. China really wants to invade Taiwan, but they can't because US presence is there defending Taiwan. And also, let's not forget the most important war of them all, the Bitcoin race between China and United States, both owning roughly 200,000 Bitcoin. That's also going to be a bit of a race. So they're always racing against each other, like fighting these indirect battles against each other. And this is just adding on to more battle, right? Now Huawei, which is a Chinese company that makes phones, I'm pretty sure you've heard of them, phones, watches, technology. It's literally like the Apple in China, though. And yeah, they're making new AI chips to compete what we have with NVIDIA. That'll be interesting to see. And last bit of news I have is Canada elections coming tomorrow. Can't wait to see what happens. Hoping for a blue wave, but we'll see. The polls are looking crazy it's looking like a liberal majority lead. Hey man, who knows? One of the biggest companies, by the way, Hudson's Bay, big in Canada here, went for bankruptcy. They couldn't take it anymore. The economy is just that bad. And they shut down after 355 years. Canada's first ever company, Hudson's Bay, says they're closing all their stores. I covered this news a couple months ago, but it's official now. It wasn't confirmed, but it was just rumored, like they might be filing for bankruptcy, and now they are. Liberal Party's post-national state rhetoric literally crippled Canada's most iconic company, and Mark Carney allowed this to happen under his watch. Don't reward them with a fourth term. We're talking about the Liberals here. They've already had 3 terms under Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau's done such a bad job that he even had to resign. And who is behind it all as well? Mark Carney. Mark Carney, the current Liberal leader, running for prime minister. Well, he kind of got placed there by the Liberals after Trudeau resigned, so he's currently the prime minister without there being an election held by Canadians. That's what we do have this current election running. He waited until polls were kind of in his favor to start this election. I gotta say that's a bit of a big brain move to, because originally it was looking, I could check Polymarket. Next Prime Minister of Canada. Yeah, look at this. At the beginning of the year, Pierre Poilievre was absolutely in the lead. It looked like Pierre Poilievre was guaranteed the next Prime Minister of Canada, Conservative Party, right? But this was against Justin Trudeau in the past, right? Justin Trudeau resigns. They appoint Mark Carney. February. Trade war starts happening, tariffs, right, by Donald Trump, and now they're using that like, oh, we will fight Donald Trump against this. I spoke with Trump, is what Mark Carney says. I spoke with Trump all the time, and yeah, we'll be able to get a deal. He actually manages to cross Pierre Polyev and start beating him in these polls. And now, well, just according to Polymarket, we're at a 77% chance of Carney victory versus 22% chance of Pierre victory, which is, wow, like all-time high versus all-time low, how the tables have turned. I don't know if I trust this, though. I gave my reasons and explanations yesterday. Really, who cares about polls? Also, like, a majority of people have not yet voted. The real election day is tomorrow, so tomorrow we're going to be getting a huge wave of votes. I'm just hoping that they're mostly conservative. The actual polls that are currently looked at seems like it's I think it's like 38% conservative versus 41% liberal. Like, that's the closest that I've seen to with trusted sources and everything. Still looks like a liberal majority lead, but you know, conservatives are just 3 points off. It's not too far off, and what really matters is tomorrow. Can I buy, like, actually log in? I'm gonna try this live. Let me click. I don't want to create an account, man. That's annoying. Yeah, anyway. Cool. So we'll see what really happens. May the best leader win. And ultimately, I love this saying a lot, and I use it a lot. Every country has the leader that they deserve. Cool. That's the end of my stream, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hope those words were inspiring for you. No, really, I don't really care. No, I kind of care. Bitcoin still 92,800. Yeah, not much has happened here. We'll be fine. If you want a quick life update from me, I'm learning guitar. That's all. Yeah, nothing else to do here. So I'll see you guys Monday. Actually, okay, yeah, Monday we're not getting any economic data either. What's important is non-farm payroll Friday and unemployment rate, and then PCE on Friday. Yeah, all this stuff right here, and GDP growth as well. It'll be interesting to see, right? Previously was 2.4% growth. We're expecting much less growth. That's interesting. We're expecting less growth. Likely due to tariffs, but I think we're still going to beat this 0.4% expectation. Or 0.5% forecast, whatever the number is. I think we'll still either meet or exceed that with surprising data. Hopefully so. All right.